Welcome to the ModeOne podcast in Discovery Mode. In today's episode, we're joined by Micah Rasmussen, Vice President of Sales at ModeOne, to separate fact from fiction when it comes to mobile collections. Micah discusses the biggest misconceptions legal teams still have, from full device collection and shipping phones away to the belief that collecting everything is always the safest approach, and explains how today's targeted remote collections are transforming the process. Let's get into it. Micah, take it away.
Hi, I'm Micah Rasmussen. I'm the Vice President of Sales here at ModeOne. I've been with the company now 3.5 years.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. We're going to keep this short and sweet because everyone's got a lot on their plates. So we're going to start with one of 4 questions. And what we want to know from you, Micah, is why are companies becoming more cautious about full device collections, especially in BYOD environments?
Yeah, that's a great question. Years ago, collecting an entire image of a device was often viewed as the safest option because the mindset was always, collect everything and figure it out later. Today's becoming much harder to justify, especially in like BYOD situations where an employee's phone contains way more than just business data. A phone can hold years of personal text messages, family photos, banking information, health information, things that just are completely unrelated to the matter at hand, right? Because of this, organizations are becoming concerned about over collection. Once data is collected, it has to be reviewed, secured, stored, potentially disclosed. And then that creates privacy concerns, increased cost. And on top of it all, it's an additional risk. The conversation's now shifted from how much can we collect to how much do we actually need to collect. And organizations are looking for defensible ways to collect only the relevant information while really respecting employee privacy and trying to minimize risk.
Thank you. That was a fabulous answer. And I want to mention that all of these questions were pulled from a lot of industry forums. So these are the most frequently asked questions in this space right now. So again, thank you for coming on and answering these with such thought. Question 2 is, how different is today's targeted mobile collection process from the traditional ship the phone away for imaging approach that people still picture when they're thinking about collections?
Yeah, I think many people still picture a mobile collection as putting a phone in a box, shipping it, across the country, waiting days or weeks for it to come back. Or they imagine an examiner sitting in their office or their living room, physically handling the device. The reality is that technology has changed significantly. Today's organizations can remotely collect targeted data directly from a custodian's device without shipping any hardware, without requiring the device to leave the possession of the custodian, and without sending an examiner on site to sit in your office or sit in your living room. Custodians keep their phone. They can often continue to use their device during the collection, and the collection can be limited to specific applications, date ranges, participants that are relevant to an investigation. That creates a much better experience for everyone involved. The legal team gets the data faster, the custodian experiences less disruption, and the organization avoids the cost and logistics associated with traditional collection methods.
I live a very simple life, and I can't imagine being away from my phone for more than an hour. So I imagine that this is incredibly helpful to anybody that has to be a part of this process.
Absolutely.
Well, how do timelines and logistics compare between what legal teams expect and what actually happens with remote mobile collections?
So one of the biggest misconceptions is that mobile collections are still a multi-week process. Historically, there's a lot of moving parts. You had to coordinate shipping, track devices, wait for imaging, return the hardware. On top of it all, you're dealing with scheduling conflicts, right? If that happens, now you're even pushed out even more. A simple collection could take days before it even started if schedules didn't line up perfectly. So with remote collection technology like ModeOne and other tools, timelines have compressed dramatically. In many cases, a custodian can be contacted, complete the collection the same day, and legal teams have the data available to review shortly after. What used to involve multiple vendors, logistics, extensive coordination can often be accomplished through like a brief call with the custodian nowadays. And for legal teams facing really tight deadlines, right, last minute deadlines, that speed can really make a meaningful difference.
Awesome. Thank you. And the last question that the people have told us they want to know. If you could change one thing about how the legal industry thinks about mobile collections, what would it be?
The one thing that I would change about the legal industry, what they think about mobile collections, is the idea that I don't know what I don't know, so let's collect everything. The mindset is definitely understandable, but it often creates more problems really than it solves. Just because a technology allows us to collect everything doesn't really mean that we should collect everything. The goal shouldn't be to gather the largest possible data set. It should really be to gather the most relevant data set. Organizations that approach or that embrace this approach will reduce costs, risk. They ultimately get the facts faster than those relying on collect everything just in case philosophy. The future really isn't about collecting more data. It's really about collecting the right data in a defensible, efficient, and respectful of privacy for the custodian way, essentially.
You heard it here first. Thank you, Micah. We appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for the time. See ya.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of In Discovery Mode. Follow us on LinkedIn for updates on new episodes or visit us online at www.modeone.io.